So it's Easter bank holiday, the cart's ready, so we're on our way to Buxton. Sunday and Monday. Sunday's down for normal weather, Monday's down for rain. That's how it goes.
Right, Daddy.
Hello.
How is it over there?
Good. Race 1 in sunny Buxton, keep it short and sweet. Practice, we're always going to be a practice really. The cart doesn't feel anything like ours, the pedals are in a different place and everything. I think we got better later in the meeting, in the race, so we'll try and probably tweak a few things based on how they would have been at end. But pretty bang average, I think we finished outside points. Anyone's guess because the transponders aren't working, but yeah, it's going to take some getting used to. The track's different as well, but yeah, that's the first race. Let's see how we go second. So at the end of day one, we had a very unsettled cart. We were quite uncomfortable in it. So we decided to take it home. We weren't planning on doing. Take it home. One thing we had to get done was the accelerator pedal, because we couldn't actually press it properly. So we took that home and modified that. We knew going back Monday it was going to be raining. We needed some wet practice. So we knew that we weren't going to get many results on the Monday, but let's hope for some improvement in the wet at least. So that's what we did. Weather on the Monday. I think we're beating Rush. We're actually here quite early. Day 2 introduction at Buxton. A little bit wet, as you can probably see. I managed to get the carts under a gazebo. Thanks to Daz, we don't have ours at the moment, so Daz has just helped us out with that. Chloe doing her hair for it to just get wet again. But yeah, pits are filling up nicely now. It's just a bit wet. Well, like everyone else with these things, they either work in wet or they don't. Let's see. Quick sponsorship shot, by the way. Both of them carts done by Guerrilla Graphics, the only one she's ever done. So let's see how it goes. Former tools on today and the noisy bangers. weigh much more. I reckon these would right track off. Nearly fell over. So yes, you do read that right, we have jumped to the final on the Monday. Excellent camera work from Chloe, can I just say. I'll be honest with you, race 2 was very roundy and it was quite wet, so there wasn't a lot to really see. To be honest, the whole of Monday's racing was quite bland, a little bit roundy. We didn't have the pace, we weren't up front, I'm not going to lie, but there just didn't seem to be a lot going on. We came off feeling like, yes, we'd had a race, but it didn't particularly certainly excite me. Hopefully the fans saw a bit more in it than we did. But yeah, so yeah, we've jumped straight to the final just after the restart here, and then we go from there. So yeah, not looking for excuses. You can see as we just go through there, we're not last, but we are quite a fair way behind. The good news is we did catch up a little bit, but we just did not have the pace. The kart didn't want to spin for once, it was more settled, but you can just see we're just off the pace. No matter what I did, I couldn't get it up to pace. The strange thing in this last race is the engine actually sounded a little bit poorly. And even on the straights we were losing pace compared to the others. We've found out now that obviously the cornering, we had quite a few different issues that weren't helping us on the corners, but we definitely had something amiss in this last race, and we just couldn't keep pace up even on the straights, which was really disappointing. And not going to lie, it's taken a lot of getting used to, considering how competitive we were last year. You know, even getting considerable points when we're in red, and plenty of podiums from blue, to suddenly be so off is a little bit frustrating, but no excuses. I'm sure I'm a little bit rusty, and we will get the kart back up in the air and have a look and see what we can do. But you can just see here, again, like I say, we're not dead last, but we are so off the pace. We were just trying different things now, and to be honest, I'd lost a certain amount of interest really. So the strip down began after Buxton. Here's one of his problems. So when that steering is turned, we were hitting the bar there, not sure why, but that obviously was stopping the wheel, so that would have made it jump. Just a video if you've not seen it of the ins and outs of what's in these things. So that accelerator pedal was way too far over. You can see how close it is to the edge. We had to move that. Other problems we've found is the rear axle, the offside wheel, the bearing has come loose. So this wheel you can just see here, so that wheel was actually rubbing, so that was one particular issue. We think that the chain might have been a little bit tight, and we are yet to look at the spark plug because the engine wasn't running right itself. Steering wise, we have literally just tracked it in a different way, and we found that the tracking was very slightly out. The biggest thing was the bearing on the passenger side was actually set back a lot further than it really should be. The stub axle, should I say, the outer stub axle, which it's just going to come to in a minute, tends to be lent back 2 or 3, but the internal one was lent back about 4 or 5. So we have actually found a few little issues that hopefully meant that it wasn't running right, but as you can see there, just the front hub, that front hub there where it's highlighted now, that was leaning back a lot further than it should have done. So we've done a few modifications, we've checked it the best we can, fingers crossed we get it running a little bit better. So the sky is blue, got my fancy white shirt on, so we'll try and be a bit positive about Buxton, or as positive as we can. In fact no, we'll just tell you the truth. Positives, negatives. So it was a weekend of 2 very different weathers. Obviously Sunday were dry and fairly warmish. Monday we're wet through. So the Sunday, the dry races, we immediately knew that the cart weren't 100%, not going to lie. This is the negative bit. Weren't comfortable in it at all, which is why we went home on Sunday night and actually had to do the accelerator pedal just so we could press it properly. But as uncomfortable as it was, and with the problems it had, we had bounce on straights, we had bouncing corners, it just didn't feel settled. We managed in the first race, we managed 1 place out of the points, 1 place I think it was, so that weren't too bad at all. Race 2, again we were just outside the points, a little bit more competitive, and we actually finished with the passenger side front wheel loose. When I say loose, I mean the wheel was literally held on by a thread. Better news in the final, we actually got points. Finals are normally a bit messy, a bit raggedy. To be fair, it was quite calm, and we managed to bring it home in the points. It still weren't right, which is why we took it home and give it a bit of a once over, ready for Monday. On Monday we knew it were going to be wet. We've had a lot of problems in the wet, but we thought we were going to try and we'd have a go. Positive of the Monday is that we didn't spin once, and the cart didn't want to spin. Last year the cart always wanted to spin, so you couldn't put the power down because as soon as you did, it'd twitch and go round on you. It didn't want to go round on you. What we found on the Monday, for some reason we just didn't have any power. Now it weren't helped by going down straights after a bad corner, because it was still very unsettled in corners. If you don't get round corner quick enough, you do lose power on the straights. But there was definitely something a bit lumpy about it, certainly in the last race, as you can see in video. But overall, like I said, negatives would be, let's be honest, we weren't comfortable in cart. It's not set up right, the stuff that we need to do. We spent a lot of time and effort into it as well. Forget the money, but the time and effort. I thought we'd spent loads of time this year trying to make it right, and it just didn't quite work out. And obviously we're not used to not getting positions anymore. Last season we were pretty much getting points in every single race we raced in, which is why we shot up to blue, which is why we continued getting points in blue that got us up to red. I think we only just missed out on Superstar. We then did we had plenty of points in red for the meeting that we did in red. Then we got trashed, and obviously we lost red because we didn't go back. so it's taking some getting used to. So overall it was a messy weekend, that's the negatives as such. But there are some positives. We didn't get any damage, so we went home with no damage at all. An improvement in the wet of not spinning is a start, at least it gives us a base to go from. A positive was on the Monday that Chloe was fantastic at helping me and Daz out, so we did well there. And the positive really was that we obviously did manage a race meeting and we are back out there, so thanks to all my sponsors and family for helping me. There will be a bit of it that we are rusty, I'm sure. You've got to bear in mind our last two races, the last race of ours in the kart was at the end of summer up in Cowdenbeath, I think it was, if I've got the date right. That got trashed and obviously didn't see the track again. We then only raced one more time, and that was in the goal final when we ended up on his roof in someone else's kart. So overall, as well as the off season, we haven't raced for months and months and months, so we will be rusty, there's no doubt. We just need to get the kart settled and sorted. As you can see in the video, we've had a good look at it and had a good bash at it, and there is some issues with it. So the next time we're there now is at Skeggy, so watch out for us at Skeggy. One final thing on this vlog is we said we were going to get the in-kart camera set up. Unfortunately that didn't quite work to plan. That's what you get when you buy cheap. Anyone got a second-hand GoPro or something like that knocking about, let us know. And we did pay for drone footage. We've seen a couple of bits and it's mint, but we will put that on a separate video. Thanks for watching.